here today to talk with you about a really important topic on hazing, and it's near and dear to my heart as Vice Chair of College and Workforce Development as we think about how to keep our students safe at our post-secondary education institutions. And I'm joined today by a family that you're going to meet. But before we start talking with them, I want to give you a little bit about some harsh statistics on hazing. 55% of students report hazing at college. And we know that hazing happens in the workforce, in the military, and yes, on college campuses. And hazing can happen whether it's fraternities or sororities, which is often how we think about hazing, but it also happens in student clubs and organizations, and in athletics, and in marching bands. So I mentioned that 55% of our students report hazing at college, and 95% of those don't report at all. And nearly 100 deaths have occurred across our country since 2000. Sam Martinez died in 2019 as a result of hazing at Washington State University in an incident that should have never happened. I'm joined today by a family who will talk about Sam and why it's important that we move forward with hazing legislation in Washington State. But this family story is not unique. And we'll talk a little bit about that as well. So thank you, Jolynn and Hector, for joining me today. And I'm very grateful to have you, and especially at such a difficult time. And can you tell me a little bit about when Sam went off to college, how much did you know about the prevalence of hazing?
First of all, we'd like to say thank you for the opportunity to speak with you today, and really to say how very grateful we are to you, Representative Leavitt. You have been a leader and a real champion for efforts in our state to pass a comprehensive package of reforms on hazing prevention. So we would just like to say thank you so much for the months of work that you have put into ending hazing in our state.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
Sam was part of a close-knit group of friends at school. They all went through our school district in Bellevue, the Spanish immersion program together from K through 12. They called themselves the Fellas, and they were in classes and on sports teams together and slept on in each other's houses overnight. And we went on trips together with the families, and he loved them. And I know when he graduated, he felt a little hole in him, and he knew he was going to miss them so much, and that sort of anchor that they had been in his life. And so he was looking to replicate that bond with a group of young men as he was moving away from home for the first time. I think he was looking for his place in college. He wanted to fit in and belong just like any other new student on a campus. Like most people, we had heard about the concept of hazing. We just never, ever thought it could happen here and to our family.
You know, it was nice to see a group of young men ready to go to college. And like my wife say, the concept of hazing never really, occurred to my head. You know, I never really think about it or knew much about hazing myself on that respect. And it was, like you say, something that could be avoided, but it just happened to us. And we were lost, and we're just trying to help other families.
Jolynn, you know that we've been working together for a while to ensure that every parent and every guardian and every family member and every student has an opportunity to learn about hazing when they first enter. But for those who are responsible, who got off with only being charged with providing alcohol during this incredibly painful process, did you hear from other parents who face similar situations?
We have been in touch with a number of parents who have lost their children to hazing across the nation. And I think what I find so very appalling is that their stories mirror ours in so many ways. Their sons died in hazing rituals, many of them at the very same type of big little event where Sam died. And in nearly every case, the criminal justice system responded with a shrug and a slap on the wrist. In our case, Sam's so-called big brother, who provided the alcohol to Sam and told him to drink the family drink that night, he was sentenced to 19 days in jail, 1 day for each year of Sam's life. The other 14 students who were charged with furnishing alcohol to minors for events that night received plea deals, calling for them to complete between 8 and 24 hours of community service. And if they do, many will have even those minor charges dismissed. I just ask, what is the message that we're sending to those who haze when a young man dies and those responsible face such very minimal consequences? Hazing to me is this terrible and bizarre relic of another time. And it's an outrage that it's still happening today on our college campuses. We cannot keep normalizing this dangerous and extreme behavior as some kind of cultural rite of passage for college students.
I think about Sam's Law. House Bill 1758 is named after Sam, and as is many other laws across the country of the families that you mentioned, and how that might help others know that hazing is a barbaric activity that we need to stop. And so appreciate moving that along as well, and helping folks to understand that the penalties as we currently have them in Washington State are failing both our youth, but they're failing our families as well. What would have helped you to navigate through this process?
Well, I think very simply information. Since Sammy died, we learned that the fraternity at WSU where he died had a history of hazing and drug and alcohol violations. It was a track record that concerned its national fraternity leaders so much that they conducted a membership review and kicked out half of its members the year before Sam was recruited. This history is hidden from the public, but it's well known by the fraternity and by Washington State University in this case, which had its own ongoing concerns about hazing and about this particular fraternity. I think the very least parents can expect from colleges and universities is that they will make the safety of their students a top priority and create a healthy learning environment for every student. That didn't happen in our case.
That's such important piece, the transparency, because as we went to, all the different, events, and they talk about some of the stuff, in the school and all the clubs, and they talk about all the positive things, that, if you belong to a Greek system, you're going to have community service, and you're going to have, time to study, it will be a structured, things there. And then, you have a big brother that it will be your brother for the rest of your life, right? I mean, that was very appealing to me, and not knowing, coming from as an immigrant to this country, and always, excited seeing my son going to college, and just thinking, in my own skin, it's like, oh man, this is good, but it was only positive, I mean, the negative stuff is not even found in the webpage, and nothing like that is transparent. And I'm upheld that some people, even from here, the people looking for information, they can find it, but some immigrants coming, from other countries that don't know this concept of fraternities, and we get very, going after the bright things, the good things that are going to be there, but there wasn't any negative,
Right.
any negative thing. So.
And House Bill 1751 will provide that transparency and accountability, and that's called the Education Prevention and Reduction Act for those reasons. But it also, as you point out, ensures that families also, in addition to students, have the resources that they need, and that law enforcement can also, hold folks accountable along with the colleges and universities to ensure that transparency and that sense of accountability occurs for communities to be a little bit safer, and certainly for our students to be and feel safe when they go off to college. Anything else you want to say about why these bills are so important to you and your family?
I would love to just tell you a little bit about Sam. I always remember his smile first, which could really light up a room. He was bilingual in Spanish and English, and he was studying business entrepreneurship at WSU. He played trombone in high school and loved soccer down to his core from the time he was just very little. He worked as a ski instructor and a youth coach and a sporting goods store. And he loved his 2 cats and gaming and his dad's tacos. And we miss him every day. And we really can't stand by and watch this happen to another family. It's been devastating to us. And we so hope that no other parents will be in our shoes going forward.
We are grateful that Sam's legacy of all the joy that he brought to many others and to you as a family. And I hope we can make some progress this year to prevent other parents to have to share their stories like you've been courageous to share yours with us. So thank you. We really appreciate your time and appreciate you bringing Sam forward for us to learn about and love as well. Thank you.
Thank you
Thank
so
you
much for
very
your
much.
support, Representative Leavitt.